Let's make some beautiful functional pot holders. There's a very easy method to making these where you layer the fabrics together and then flip it inside out, and it actually creates a little place where you can slide your hand in, and it works great. And if you pick some cute fabric, then it's just a cheerful addition to your kitchen that's useful and happy looking. I'm starting with a layer cake. It's by Singer Fabrics, and it's called Gnomes and Daisies. It has shades of blues and yellows, and it's very cute and happy looking. I'm gonna choose 2 prints that have a nice contrast, and I'm gonna cut 2.5-inch strips, and then I'm gonna subcut that down into 4.5 inches. So I'm gonna end up with little kind of like potato chip blocks, the little 2.5-inch by 4.5-inch blocks. And I'm gonna start sewing these together, the 2 coordinating colors. And so it's just a 2.5-inch piece, 2.5 by 4.5 inches. And these are commonly known as potato chip blocks in the quilting community. I don't know what they call them that, but I guess because they're just so fun and cute to look at. And it's just like a little sewing snack to sew these. Once we have our pairs sewn together, we're gonna choose, again, the same fabrics. I have 2 different kinds of prints going on right now, but the ones that coordinate, and I'm gonna put them together in such a way that I have the blue next to the yellow and the blue next to the yellow. The main thing is just making sure you're not putting the same color right next to each other. Now you could make these super scrappy, but I chose to just use 2 colors on each pot holder for kind of a more planned and coordinated look. Now, if you have directional prints, because of you're having to flip the pairs around, you're gonna end up with prints going every which way. So a non-directional print would probably work best for this project, but even still, as long as you're picking fabrics that you love, it's gonna turn out adorable. Okay, so once I have 4 of these potato chip little pieces sewn in a row, and I have 2 rows, I'm gonna alternate them so that, again, I have none of the same colors touching, so that a blue is next to a yellow every single time. And I'm just gonna sew that together with a 1/4-inch seam. Now, you could piece this any way you want. It comes out about 8 inches by 8 inches. And I just chose this method with the 2.5 by 4.5 inch pieces because I just thought it was really cute, and it makes a decent sized pot holder. It's a very useful size. Okay, so that is the top for our pot holder, and it's adorable. And like I said, as long as you pick 2 contrasting but yet coordinating prints, it just has a very happy feel to it. How easy was that? Okay, let's add some backing. Okay, next I'm gonna pick 2 fabrics from my layer cake for the back of my pot holder. Now I'm using 2 of the same, but you could use 2 different ones. I'm just folding it down a couple of inches. I'm not doing a precise measurement here. Wrong sides together and ironing a nice crease in it. And then I'm gonna grab some 100% cotton batting squares, and I'm gonna use some of this 505 spray glue, and I'm just spraying a little bit on there. I'm gonna lay my top onto my pot holder, and then I have a couple of layers of the batting. Now, I'm taking the back. Now, see how the back is too long? Because my finished part is about 8 inches, maybe 8.5, and I think it came out to about 8.5 right now before the final seams are in, but my layer cake is 10. So once I have that seam folded and ironed, I'm just trimming off the excess. I almost forgot to add my quilt lines, which is the whole part of this project that makes it a quilted pot holder. Sometimes when I'm filming, I forget these things. Because I'm working with multiple layers of that 100% cotton batting, I am changing it out for a walking foot on my sewing machine, because the walking foot will enable me to get through all these different layers. Now I am just going to add my quilting lines. I almost forgot to do this part, but I am just going along sort of beside my seams I already have, and I'm just adding a few little stitch lines in. to hold these layers together, all my cotton batting and the top of my pot holder. You can add as many quilt lines as you want to. I would recommend at least one going one direction and one going the opposite direction, but I did right along kind of the sides of my strips. Okay, now we're gonna put the back on, and this is gonna go on right sides together, and I am gonna clip this in place. You wanna line up the raw edges. The fold goes towards the middle. I'm now going to prepare my second piece of the backing, and same thing, I'm just gonna fold it over a few inches, and then it's too long, so I'm gonna trim off that edge. I'm trimming off about, I think, 1.5 inches here, but it's just to make it whatever the size of your finished pot holder is. Now, the folds should overlap in the center, and this is what makes that little pocket that you can slide your hand in. It's also how we're gonna turn this right sides out here in just a minute, is because we have that fold. This is a no binding pot holder, which makes it a really quick and easy project. If you have any leftover layer cake squares or any potato chip blocks, you could very easily do this project in like less than an hour. I think this would be great as a little gift. You could put some brownie mix and a spatula with it and some, homemade pot holders, and it would just be like a cute little gift. But also you could keep it for yourself and use it in your kitchen. What I'm doing now is I'm using my walking foot, and I am sewing all the way around the outside edge of this square. I'm doing a little bit more than 1/4 inch, almost probably about a 3/8 inch seam allowance all the way around the outside of this pot holder block. Now I'm going to trim the corners. I'm just gently snipping away the extra, being careful I don't cut my seams. And this is how easy it is to turn it right sides out. You just reach in between the two folds and it comes out so nice and easily. And the pot holder at this point is almost done. We just need to turn our points out, turn our corners out. I'm gonna do it first with my hand, and then I do have a little tool I can use. It's very handy. It's kind of a blunted plastic, but it's pokey, but not too pokey. And it works really well for turning these corners out. Once your corners are turned out, smooth all the fabric with your hands. Make sure that it's laying the way you want it to, and then give it a good press to hold everything in place. Then we're just gonna top stitch around the edges, and this will be completed. Isn't that darling? I love these little pot holders. I have so many of these in my kitchen in all different kinds of prints and colors, and I love them because they're useful, they're a fun, happy afternoon sew, and they're practical, which I love something that is cute and practical. Here is a close-up of how I add the quilting lines. When I have my multiple layers of 100% cotton batting, I would use 2 to 3 layers or a layer of cotton with Insulated. Insulated is special batting that you can buy for projects like pot holders and things like that, but otherwise just use multiple layers of 100% cotton batting. Don't use polyester batting or a poly cotton blend because the polyester will melt when heat is applied. Just note that. You can actually use the same method with smaller pieces to make coasters. And so these little squares that I have here, these little quilted squares, were trimmed off when I was boxing the corners of a bag, or maybe it was a fabric basket, but I had all these cute little squares that were already kind of patchwork cotton fabric with cotton batting. And so I decided just to use that same method of the fold and sew right sides together and then turn right sides out on these little remnants that I had to make a set of coasters. And so this is just a little bonus project. Just a little no waste project. You know, why throw something away if it could be useful? And I think this is so cute, and you can make something useful with it. In this case, little coasters. It's the same method. Once you have your two pieces of the backing folded and overlapped on the back with right sides together, you use your walking foot and you sew all the way around the four edges. Now, the easiest way to pivot the corners is to have your machine set with the needle down. So whenever you stop stitching, the needle will be down. This makes it really easy to pivot the corners. The coasters are not any harder than the pot holders. They're just smaller. And so I think anything that's a small item, I think is just automatically cuter. It's always a good idea to backstitch the beginning and the end of these little projects. But how cute are these?